Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Caru News, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Gyan and Organ Donation India Foundation. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topics. And as you all know that today, in present time, the current topic is Ukraine war. And mainly the India is in the limelight because of the medical students who are studying at Ukraine at the one earlier before the war. Now they are on their way back to India. So it has been highlighted now what is the situation, why the students are going outside India for further studies, why they are not getting those facilities in India, what is the situation in India, what is the status. So the topic is, today's topic is medical education in India. The standard entry to practice degree in modern medicine in India is the Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery, MBBS. MBBS, a credential earned upon completion of a 5.5-year undergraduate program. The curriculum is divided into 1 year of preclinical studies in general science subjects and 3.5 years of paraclinical and clinical studies, followed by a 1-year clinical internship. Before beginning the internships, students are required to pass several examinations, the final one of which is conducted in 2 parts. Graduate education in medical specialties typically takes 3 additional years of study after the MBBS and concludes with the award of the Master of Surgery MS or Doctor of Medicine MD. Postgraduate diplomas in medical specializations may also be awarded upon the completion of 2-year training programs. A qualification in a super or sub-specialty is called DM or MCH. As of 21st May 2020, there are 542 medical colleges and 64 standalone postgraduate institutes in India whose qualifications are recognized by the National Medical Commission. Most of the medical schools were set up by the central and state governments in 1950s and 60s. But in the 1980s, several private medical institutes were founded in several states, particularly in Karnataka. Andhra Pradesh state allowed the founding of several private institutions in the new millennium. Medical education in a private institute can be expensive if not subsidized by the government. Total number of MBBS seats in government medical college, including of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, central universities, ESIC colleges are 44,555. Total number of MBBS seats in private and deemed medical colleges are 43,815. And MBBS seats in deemed universities are 8,050. So approximately it works out to be about 96,000 seats, or we can say approximately 1 lakh seats are available for MBBS every year, especially for 2022. Now to discuss this very, very burning topic, because everywhere is talking why the students have gone out from India, why they have not studied in India, whether Indian standard of education, medical education is not that high, or it is so tough to get admission in medical colleges here, that's why they go, or the fee structure is the reason. So many things are there we would like to analyze today, and we have a very elite, knowledgeable professionals, doctors who have spent their times studying as well as working in either the medical colleges or the hospitals, and they know the condition of medical education in India. So I would like to invite my first panelist guest, and he is Dr. A.M. Shivkumar. Dr. Shivakumar is the senior ENT surgeon. He is the former professor and head of JJM Medical College and SSIMS Devangri. Welcome, Dr. A.M. Shivakumar on our show. Dr. Shivakumar, you studied in medical college, worked in medical college, and you have taught the students in medical college. You have seen all the scenes from the time when you took admission in the medical college, the conditions at that time, when you studied in the medical college, the conditions prevailing at that time, and then when you started teaching And when you retired recently, so that those times you have seen very, very closely. We would like to know from you your views on medical education in India. Dr. A.M. Sivakumar, please.
So thank you very much, sir, for giving me an opportunity to say my views about medical education in India. We all know that the medical field has advanced so much, but are we expecting the same in medical education? Because medical education in India has seen in different phases. As you said, there were only government medical colleges before 1980s, and afterwards private medical colleges came into the picture. So during the period where only government medical colleges or very few medical colleges, private medical colleges were present, the learning method was totally different. The number of medical students were less, but number of patients was very high because all the government medical colleges are attached to government hospitals where number of patients is always very, very high. So we had, as a student, a lot of opportunity to learn medicine with examining the patients directly. That was the scenario. And our teachers were very committed and who had passion for teaching. So they inculcated whatever they had in their mind to us. So that was the method of teaching with a lot of patients and few medical students. But when once the private medical colleges came into the picture, the private medical colleges had their own hospital. So in those hospitals, though the NMC or MCI put a condition that few patients must be treated freely or free of cost, but the scenario is different. In government medical colleges, what happened after the 1980s was because of lack of facilities in the government medical colleges, patients started moving towards the private hospitals. But when the private medical colleges started, they had their own hospitals, but the patient started moving towards those hospitals, but they have to pay and get the treatment. When that was the scenario, the patients probably thought, when we are paying, why go to a medical college and subject ourselves to the examination by the students? They started moving towards the private hospitals. So that is why teaching material has come down. In our period, the number of students were less, patients were more. Now, scenario in private medical colleges as well as in government medical colleges, students are more, patients are few. That means teaching material has really come down, which has affected the medical education in India. Because hallmark of the medical education, learning is by seeing the patients, talking to the patient, examining the patients, and then learn. That means we will be exposed to all sorts of life by talking to the patient. But nowadays, the students, present day students, do not have that facility. Number two, the teachers in our time, as I already told, were passionate to teach, and they had a very attractive salary. But in the present scenario, in the private medical colleges, whatever the salary the teachers are getting is meager when compared to the other fields. So naturally, they are interested in private practice also, which is allowed by the private medical colleges. So they come to the college in the morning and go to their clinics in the evening. What has happened with this scenario is the commitment towards the teaching has come down. The commitment towards the teaching has come down so much that they have become mechanical to some extent. Whatever they are supposed to do, for example, if they are supposed to take one class for 1 hour, they do that and go away. But in our time, our professors used to get involved in teaching even at night. That scenario is not there. So that is why the commitment and passion of the teachers is reduced, which has affected the learning of the medical students. Then really what has happened is, because of few patients, the learning method the administration has changed, including the MCI. They started saying that the students should learn by using mannequin. Mannequin, definitely we can learn many things with the mannequin, but it is not equivalent to learning with the patient, because when you are dealing with human being, there will be emotions, everything. That is not involved when we are learning the medicine with the mannequin. So this, what has happened is, even the common things like tonsillitis, appendicitis, they are not able to see in the hospital. They give the scenario and explain to the students by which they have to learn. And even in the examination, they don't put a patient and ask them to examine the patient. Where I have seen in many private medical colleges as an examiner, they will have one patient or two patients, 20 students have to examine the same student. So ultimately what has happened is, they started giving a scenario while writing. And then they used to ask the question, how you can treat them. We all know that treating patient requires first talking to the patient, then examining the patient, then considering history as well as clinical points. You will analyze and then come to a diagnosis and then treat. That scenario is not there nowadays, mainly because of very few number of patients. And that is why they have gone for virtual meeting, virtual studies. Coming to this fee structure, especially when we were students, for example, me, I completed my course by paying just 5,000 rupees for the whole 5 years, not even 5,000. But nowadays, fee structure is such that only the intelligent patients, few intelligent students can get free seats. The remaining seats, because the NMC has given some seats to the private medical colleges. And in private medical colleges, number of seats, more than 50% they take. So the available seats for the meritorious students is less in India. So what happens, after the merit students quota is completed, those students are intelligent, though they have scored very high marks, they are not able to get the seats in the colleges, because if they want to get the seat, they have to pay very high fees where the middle class people cannot afford. So naturally what they do is, they started searching for any other alternative methods, and they found the easy method, that is, in other countries, to complete the course of MBBS, they require hardly about 40 lakhs. Whereas in our country, not less than 1 crore is required for the course. So naturally, students started going towards the other countries, though the standard of medical education, as I have told you, though it is deteriorated in our country, but still, when compared to those countries, still it is good. The reason is, those graduates who have studied there, complete their MBBS, came back to India and they have to clear an examination. Only 15% of the students are clearing their examination to start their practice in India. That shows that Indian scenario in medical learning is definitely better than those countries, but when compared to the past, the medical education learning has reduced drastically. Then the other thing is, sir, all the government hospitals in our country are, if they are attached to any medical college, whether run by private or the government itself, the scenario would have changed. But government did not show much.
Doctor, excuse me, Dr. 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔, any other devices on there? Some disturbances coming from your side. Any other devices on? No, na? No. Okay. Please go ahead.
The government did not take much interest in starting the government medical colleges, where many students would have got the opportunity to learn medicine. But instead, they, in fact, indirectly, I feel they what we call push their private managements to start the medical college. So with the invasion of the private medical college into the medical field, definitely the learning process has come down a lot because of their affinity towards getting money rather than trying to help the students to learn. If the private medical college private medical college managements were to be forced to treat the patient at free of cost, this scenario would not have been there. But they were allowed to get the fee from the patients for their treatment, which naturally a patient thought. They started moving toward the private hospitals. Why go to a private medical college and get examined by the medical students and then pay? So that is why patients started moving towards totally private hospital. So that has caused, the decrease in learning process in medical colleges. Sir, anything to be added? Anything?
Okay, thank you, Doctor. I will be coming to you next time. If you left anything, you want to say anything more, or shall we go? I will move to the next panelist.
Okay.
You have anything to say now more? Okay, so next round I will take. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔 𝐍𝐄𝐿 for giving your views. And Dr. 𝐂𝐂 has very clearly mentioned the past, the present, and the future. And he says that when he was a student of medical college, at that time, the fees structure was very, very economical. He said that he paid not even 5,000 rupees for the 5 years course. And he says at that time, number of students were less and number of patients were more in government colleges, because all government medical college used to be there. Nowadays, when the private medical colleges have come, number of students are more, number of patients are less. And he has given the very valid reason. He says government hospitals, because of the less infrastructure they are not getting them treated. The patients wants to go to the medical college, private medical college. There also he found that they are charging good amount of money, but the students are going to examine them and treat them. So that's why the patients are going to the private hospitals. And that's why even the private medical colleges and the government medical college are not getting that much patients which they used to get earlier. And that's why the practice, or because the patients are not available, so they will not be able to learn. The students will not be able to learn what they used to learn earlier. Second point is made is that earlier the teachers used to teach them on the patients. Nowadays it's a mannequin. They are using the mannequin, or they are just showing one patient, and then the entire year they have to ask the questions on those. So according to him, the standard of education has gone down. According to Dr. 𝐂𝐂, fees is gone up like anything. And that's why the medical education system in India is not that healthy as it looks like. Although he said that Ukraine, when we are talking the other countries, especially Ukraine, their education level is not that high, and that's why their students who have come to India and they have to pass one examination, only 15%. If I heard correctly, is it 15 or 50%, Dr. 𝐂𝐂?
15, sir.
15, correct?
So that in the first attempt,
15% only qualify. Okay, but only one very startling thing is that Ukraine degree, medical degree, is recognized by almost all the countries in the world, while Indian medical degree is not that much recognized in many countries. And that might be the reason, one of the reason that students who are going to Ukraine are getting their future. They can go to any other country and start practicing or doing the service. While Indian medical, if you do, it's not possible for you to go and start practice anywhere or get the service unless you will do some course there. So that is one of the factor we will discuss in detail in the next round. So thank you very much, Dr. 𝐂𝐀 for your views. Now I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Dr. 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔 𝐍𝐄𝐖𝐒. Dr. 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔 𝐍𝐄𝐖𝐒 is MBBS, MRCP, RCP, UK, MD, DIP, Type 2 DM, Boston School of Medicine, USA. Dr. Singhvi is the specialist of internal medicine and diabetes. He is the medical director of Apollo Hospital, Muscat. He is the recipient of Man of Excellence Award in 2017 for outstanding achievements in health and social services. He is a recipient of Jewel of Rajasthan Award in 2012. He has published several research papers in national and international journals. He is one of the frontline COVID worker. Welcome, Dr. Dilip Singhvi, on our show. Dr. Dilip Singhvi, you have heard what Dr. A.M. Sivakumar said, and he is very, very clearly saying that the level of education, medical education especially, what was there in earlier time is not there now, although many medical colleges, including private medical colleges, are in the field, but the level has gone down. Fee structure, fees has gone up like anything, and that's why students are leaving India, going abroad for less of the fees and all those things. Now, you have studied in India, you have, and now you are settled, for the time being, you are in Muscat as a director of Apollo Hospital. So you have seen both the places, domestically and internationally, the conditions of medical education and as well as the students. So we would like to know from you, the medical education in India. Dr. Dilip Singhvi, please.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Mr. Lal. Let me thank you, first of all, for giving me yet another opportunity to interact with you and your audience. And of course, this is another important topic which we should be discussing, especially in the view of the current scenario of Ukraine, which you were mentioning. Now, I do fully agree with Dr. Shivkumar that the standards of medical education has gone down in India. When we used to study, even, I mean, Dr. Shivkumar is senior to me. So he has studied in 60s, I have studied in 90s, 80s and 90s. But if you compare from that decade also, obviously the standards have gone down. The population has risen. We are on almost now 140 crores. There is a lag between big lag between the number of doctors which India is producing. Although I would still appreciate India that the highest number of doctors which any country in the world is producing is India. As you have rightly mentioned, all the statistics, the number of colleges, the number of seats, we are almost producing 1 lakh doctors a year, and which is highest in the world. But looking to the size of the population, 140 crores, it is huge gap still. The amount of work required is substantial still. Now, of course, yes, there is a paradigm shift in the way the patient is behaving. Initially, there were not much private setups. So they were obviously going to the government medical colleges. And slowly that paradigm has shifted to medical colleges or to private hospitals. And obviously, wherever, private hospitals are what? Barely, they are service industries. They're part of service industries. Like you give services in other sectors, you give services in hospital sector also. So there, the teaching gets affected. There is not much of teaching. There is more of commercial practice. In medical colleges also, it's a mix of commercial and medical and teaching practice. But obviously, it's not like what you have in government medical colleges. Now, one important statistics which I would like to highlight, which Mr. Lal did not tell, was the number of students appearing in the exam. Now we have 1 lakh seat. Okay, fine. 1 lakh students get admission. As in the ratio of what? 1 million. More than 1 million students are sitting for the exam per year. So what happens to those 9-10 lakhs still left? Only 1 lakh are able to get in each year. So now we have a big chunk of students who are left outside the field. They do not get chance to enter into the medical system. Maybe some of them will try second year or third year, but still every year we probably are left with almost 8 or 9 or 7 lakh students who aspire to become a doctor, but eventually cannot get into the medical field. Now, what will they do? What are the options for them? Now, in my whole 25 years or 27 years of experience, I have also counseled so many students who come to me, taking counseling to become a doctor. They aspire to become a doctor. And I have also counseled them. Now, what drives a student to become a doctor? That is very important. My first question to them is, what has prompted you to become a doctor? what is there in you which says that you should be a doctor? Is it just peer pressure, parenting pressure, or you've just seen some media, or is it really that you want to become a doctor? So if a student says, no, my intention is, or my passion is to become a doctor for this reason, that then I say, okay, you go for it. Now the question is, when you go for it, in India, you have an entrance exam. Now that the NEET exam, the unified exam, which you, and plus the other seats. Now, if a person is able to qualify, fine, he gets his entry into the medical line. But now the people who are remaining, who do not get entry, what they do, what are the options for them? Either they look for an alternative job, alternative career, maybe say some allied branch of medical, could be pharmacy, could be something else, or they hunt for options outside the country. Obviously, one big factor which Dr. Shiv Kumar had highlighted also is the money aspect, the financial part, that since there is a substantial difference in the fee structure of India and the fee structure of these particular countries. I'm talking specifically Russia, allied countries of Russia, China, where the fee structure is substantially cheaper as compared to India. So in this region, there is a significant difference in the fee structure. So that is one prompt which gives a student maybe to go outside. The second biggest problem is he is not able to get a seat in India. So they look for alternative MBBS courses. So these 2 points probably, prompts the student, okay, go for it. Now the third aspect is, which also Dr. Shiv Kumar had beautifully highlighted, is the entrance exam when you come back to India. Now you have done your MBBS, fine, whatever the standard is. But when you come back to India, you have again a licensing exam to be given to get into the mainstream medical practice of India. And as brilliantly highlighted by him, 15% is the average, which 15% of the students are able to pass that exam. In fact, some of the years even it is below 15%, it is 11%, 12%. So out of, say, whatever the number is going out, say 20,000, 30,000, 1 lakh students are going outside the country, and hardly handful 10 or 15,000 might be able to pass that exam. So they do not get into the mainstream of India. The rest of them will not get into the mainstream of India. Maybe second attempt, third attempt, some of them may be able to pass. Now the question is, we have 2 aspects. On one side, we have a huge chunk going out of the country and studying. And when they come back, they're not able to get into the mainstream medical sector. So from both sides, we have problem now. We have a huge chunk going outside, but they are not able to serve the country when they come back. So we have to look both the aspects. We should make facilities here. And another point I would like to highlight is that, as you said, the top cream gets the selection. The second middle tier may get selection because of marks, or maybe because of their ability to pay, whether it is in private medical college or wherever. Now, these people who are going out of the country, most of them are on the lowest level of the ladder. They are not in the top bracket. They are in the lowest bracket. Had they been in the top or the middle bracket, they would have been able to clear the NEET. So that is one more aspect, that since they are not able to clear the PG UG entrance exam of India, they look for these options. They come back. But unfortunately, most of these students do not realize this fact, that they will not be able to clear the entrance test. So what happens is, now the options are either they go to an alternative branch like pharmacy or pharmaceutical consultancies in the companies, or hospital management, some other sector. The problem is, what we want as a country is doctors. We want in the medical sector doctors. We don't want that many pharmacists, we want doctors. So ultimately what is happening, we have a loss from both the sides. We have a brain drain outside, which comes back, and still we cannot utilize that brain drain because they are not good enough for our standards. Because the medical education in that country is not, I will not say good or bad, it doesn't suit the Indian setup. The closest medical setup which any country has to Indian system, the teaching which Dr. Shiv Kumar was also highlighting, is Bangladesh. Bangladesh curriculum is almost similar to India. So some of the students who go to Bangladesh are able to compete with our entrance exam here back, and they are able to clear. The second country which comes closest to us is Philippines. Now, last year, if you see the last year statistics, almost 15% of the students who came back from Philippines were able to pass this exam. So these two countries probably are very close to the Indian system. Rest, all these countries, the other countries, are not having that curriculum which we have. In fact, Chinese is absolutely different from us. In Russia, what happens? You study 3 years or 4 years in English, and then you study in Russian. So their curriculum doesn't suit us. So on one side, we do not have enough seats to cater to everybody, which probably will take again, couple of years or a decade to get more medical colleges or more private medical colleges. Like in Rajasthan, what I heard that there are 6 or 7 medical colleges right now working in private, and there is a plan to expand them to 28. So we'll get more number of seats, more number of students might come in, but that will take time. It will not happen overnight. But until then, what happens is these students are going out, and when they come back, they cannot qualify for the medical sector and become doctors, practicing doctors in India. So apart from the alternative, there is another problem is that some of them practice as doctors without certification. So that is another added problem which our medical authorities should be looking at. Some of them, not all of them, go to alternative jobs. Some of them, they practice as doctors, but without proper papers. So that is another problem, so which we should look into. But what is happening is now these countries, because of this easy availability of seats at a subsidized price, they lure these people, and so many students, they go out and study. In fact, from Muscat, so many Indian students have gone. I know a couple of my friends or their children have gone out. There is one more country which is very popular, Georgia, which was part of Russia before. There are so many students going to Georgia also. Poland also. Now Poland, they teach in Polish totally. But still students are going and studying medicine in Poland, are doing MBBS from Poland. Now, when they come back home, I don't think how will they pass the Indian exam. It's very difficult. So for them, the only alternative is either to go into an alternate sector, or some of them, what they do is they try for US and UK. They give PLAB in UK, or they give USMLE in US. If they're able to clear that, they move to that side. One more important point I will highlight is US, UK, Canada, New Zealand, Australia. Any student doing MBBS from there is exempt from the entrance exam in India. They can directly come and practice here. So their standards, their teaching is very much equivalent to what we teach. So if I would suggest as an advice that if a student is able to afford that, then he should look for these countries. He should do an undergrad from these countries so that he is an option of getting settled there, or at least if he wants to come back to India and serve our country, he can get into the mainstream and become a full-fledged doctor and serve our Indian community straight away without the hassle of giving this entrance exam. But all these countries like Russia or Ukraine or these countries, the students there will get stuck. So either they should be very clear in their picture, in their mind, what they want to do after getting a degree from Ukraine or from Russia or from any of these countries, because they'll get stuck into the entrance exam. So what we'll get is alternative people in the alternate branches only. Mainstream health sector doctors will still remain deprived of more manpower coming into it. So this point should be very clear in the mind of students, whoever does a counseling, wherever they take a counseling, that what is their goal after doing this MBBS degree. From the government point of view, I would like to have that. I think government is probably already working on it, that there should be a minimum standard for these foreign patients. I mean, it could be through government agencies, through the embassies or whatever, that there should be a minimum standard or minimum requirement of percentage or marks for these students to get admission, so that at least we have some standard of students going into it. It should not be like that I have a money in my pocket, I can afford anywhere, anything, I just get into a medical and get a degree. So that should also be looked at, that a minimum requirement of percentage, what we have in India. We have a minimum standard that you need to clear this percentage only to get in. The same should follow for these students also. It should not be indiscriminated. A person who's way below his capabilities, just because he has the affordability, he takes the admission and gets a degree. That again, it's a waste of seat and waste of degree. It doesn't help anybody. Neither the other country gets money. India is not benefiting. So if a government can look and put a bar on that, at least there will be some maintenance of standard there also. And eventually, if a student is good, will get clearing the entrance exam after they come back. So if a government can look into that, make a minimum passing criteria a little higher, at least this brain drain going out will stop. Not to dishearten the students, but it will be actually benefit them in longer term, because you see, still what I believe and what all of us believe, that medical profession is still a noble profession. Students are, they think as a passion that I want to become a doctor, I want to relieve pain of people, I want to serve the community. So it is still looked as a noble profession. And most of the students are, motivated or inspired because of this emotional thought. But ultimately, what happens? They get disheartened if they do not get a seat. But if a person who is not able to get into the mainline entrance exam of India, he should probably start thinking of an alternative sector in the very beginning. I would say go into hospital management, go into other branches of medicine where you can get an admission, go into pharmacy, or whichever you want to choose. If you're not able to clear your mainline entrance exam in India, it will be very difficult for you to clear any exam anywhere. So wasting your 5 years in MBBS and doing nothing is better than taking a sector where you can excel. So that is what I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Dilip Singhvi, for giving your views. And Dr. Dilip Singhvi is very clear. He says that students who are going abroad is basically because 2-3 factors. He agreed with what Dr. Shivkumar said. The one factor is that they are not clearing the NEET exam, and because the number of seats are far less than the number of applicants. Secondly, he says because of the fee structure in India, it's costing lots of money, while other places it's very less. But he says the problem is once they are coming back, as Dr. Shivkumar has mentioned, only 15% and are clearing the exams to practice here or to join any service to get their degree recognized. So he says that is the main problem. And he suggested that 2 other countries like Bangladesh or Philippines, where their studies are far better and their percentage of passing that particular exam when they came back is about 50%. He also suggested that there are 5 countries like UK, USA, Canada, Australia, etc. Those countries degrees are recognized in India. Now, but the problem, although Dr. Singhvi suggested that if you can go there, but the problem is the cost is far more than even the paid seats here in India, because on an average, approximately 30 to 35 lakhs rupees per year is the cost for 1 year of for every year. So you can imagine that how much it is costing. But the advantage is that there, if you qualify, although it's not easy to get admission in UK or USA, unlike Ukraine and other places, there they are having a very tough criteria for admission. But their advantage is once you qualify, once you complete your 4 years degree, then you will be getting very good amount of internship amount, which you are not getting in India. That is a difference there. And while you are doing MRCP, you are getting lots of money there. So these factors, but he says we have to see how we can improvise our medical thing, because after all, we require doctors in India very badly. Ratio of doctors and patients is very, very poor in India. Although we are the largest producing doctors every year, about 1 lakh or doctors. So he is of that view that more medical colleges with a strict discipline has to be opened, and see to it of how the brain drain can be stopped. Thank you very much, Dr. Dilip Singhvi, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and she is Dr. Rashmi Kundapur. Dr. Rashmi Kundapur is the Additional Professor, Department of Community and Family Medicine, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Hyderabad. She completed MBBS in 2001 and MD in 2006 at JJM Medical College, Devangri, Karnataka with first class. She has 75 publications with H index 11 and I-10 index 9 with 789 citations, publications with impact factor ranging from 0.51 to 4.53. She has more than 30 presentations in various state, national and international conferences. She is the editor for IAPSM, textbook of preventive and social medicine, published in 2019 and second edition in 2021. She has given more than 32 guest lectures and trainings. She was invited speaker for 3 international conferences and 8 national conferences and workshops. In 31st National Conference of 2004, she was won Young Female Scientist Award. She was awarded Young Scientist Award by 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔 in 46th Conference in Manipal by Karnataka Association of Community Health in year 2011. In 46th National Conference of 2018 IAPSM, she was awarded Presidential Appreciation Award. In 47th National Conference 2019, she was awarded with Fellowship in Preventive and Social Medicine, FIAPSM. She has completed 3 funded projects as co-investigator. She has completed 7 funded projects as principal investigator and currently 1 ongoing. She was secretary for IMA Mangalore 2019 to 2020. Welcome, Dr. Rashmi Kundapur on our show. Dr. Kundapur, you have heard what Dr. A.M. Shivkumar as well as Dr. Dilip Singhvi has mentioned. And both are of the view that because of less infrastructure, less number of seats, less and a very high fee structure, the students are not getting admissions here easily. That's why they are going out. Secondly, what Dr. Shivkumar has mentioned is that the standard of medical education has gone down drastically from the earlier time when he was a student, and now because of lots of factors which he has already clarified about the hospitals situation, the fees charges, etc., etc. Now you are working in an All India Institute of Medical Science, Hyderabad. We would like to know your views on this medical education in India. Dr. Rashmi Kundapur, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Goelji, for inviting me for this sessions. And of course, before I start, it's my teacher and my mentor, Dr. Shivkumar, there on, and I will definitely not disagree with him because he was the person who had taught me what is medicine, and we continued from there. But I'm always optimistic to start with. So, of course, I agree majority of, that's what I said, I do not disagree. I majority of the time agree with the concepts, majority of things. But again, would like to put on very few contents when we talk about medical education in India. Deteriorations or how it is, what has happened over the period of time. Would want to very clearly tell you that even before joining here, before 1.5 years, I was in a private institution in a deemed to be university in Mangalore, which was one of the NIRF accredited, NAC plus accredited institution. And I was also looking into, as it was a deemed university, I was also looking into the fee structure and majority of the things, what was happening. Now, 2-3 things I would want to put it across as an for the debate. First thing is, I agree with Dr. Dilip or Dr. A.M. Shivkumar, like how and why the students are. We are having 1 lakh plus students who are coming. The question is, why is medical education considered as a cream of the society in India? Why is that students in India want to do medical? This is a pertinent question all of us, including the government, has to think of. That is the major part when we are looking into, is that the passion towards, is that a noble profession, or is it something else? If you look into majority of the point of time, parents and the students of these days do not consider, all of us, including many of the medical professionals, consider it not only, it was a time has gone when people are thinking it is a noble profession, rather than they considered it as a professional ethics or a profession and safe profession. Now I would want to bring it as more than a noble, people talk it as a safe profession. We, being in 15 years in medical education, including in All India Institute of Medical Science, when the parents sit across, I would want to very clearly put across to say that my son do not want to do medical. And I was upset because he do not want to do medical. Why is that I was upset? If he doesn't want to do medical. Most of us feel that this is a safe, even for an average, if not in many of the professions. I'm not saying other professions are not doing good. In all other professions, only the excellent excels. And the ordinary and the below average normally will have to strive a lot, and they cannot. Whereas this is the profession which allows all of them to have a comfortable life. Now, I want to very clearly put it across, a comfortable life. I'm not saying they'll make a lot of money, but a comfortable. And why is that happening? And it is not only in India, it is all over the world. It's not just in India, it's all over the world. Including my brother is in US. He is a software engineer, earning quite a lot, but he would want his daughter to do medicine because he believes that's the most comfortable and most safe profession as compared to any other profession in US. So now what is that drives everybody is not just it's a noble profession. It's a safe, and also people think that, okay, you can be treated, you have a doctor at home, you are safe. In your older age, you're safe, your family is safe. So you do not have to wait as in US or UK for long queues to get a prescription because you have a doctor at home. See, there is a lot of things which you look into why you want to become a doctor. So majority, what I want to say is not just a passion to serve the country or because it's a noble profession, but many other things come into a picture here when we take it as a profession. So the medical profession in India, we know that even Obama had said about the Indian mothers saying that they are Indian. He appreciates Indian and Chinese mothers, and especially the Indian mothers who can make their children work very hard to achieve the maximum potential what they have. Now I would want to say maximum potential. So I am not going to say that all who were scoring 97, which people say, my son also scored 97%, but he didn't get well in NEET, are the very intelligent. Because the mothers are putting in their highest effort in India to expel their children to get the maximum potential, they were scoring 97%. And when it comes to their own passion or their own achievability, they are not so that great. There was a time, I agree, when we were looking at, I agree with 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, or 1990, up to 1990s, students were coming up majority of the time by their own potentials. If you look into their own potentials and passions. Now it is not their own potentials, but the pressure and potentials of the parents putting into the children. So the children may not be as good as in 1960s first class students getting in 97% students who are getting into now. So these are the two different attitude and thinking what we have to keep in our mind before talking about medical education seats has to be increased. I have seen the students, I've been teaching the students in last 15 years. I've seen in a private institution, now I'm seeing it in All India, which is the cream of the society, wherein the 1,000 rank, the students who in the NEET 1,000 ranks come in. I definitely agree, the most intelligent are much more higher intelligent than we were, or our generation was. My students in All India can answer what a first year PG in many other institutions can answer. I agree that. But there are also people who cannot be doing as an average in 1990s could do, who have got into the medical profession. So there is a difference in thinking and average with the quality of the students coming into medical education also. It's not just medical education, students in medical. The drive, the passion. I remember evenings we used to go, I myself used to go to Dr. 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔 clinic to see the patients. I myself used to go in night to Dr. 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔's home to learn. Now I request my students feel that's their party time to come. Not in All India, I'm saying about when I was in a private institution. They do not want to spend their party time with me to study. I myself, even after being a professor, used to go on rounds in the evening to see what were the patients and learn from the patients. But my students feel that's not their learning time. So there is a change in the attitude. It's not just a medical education. There is also change in the attitude. Also, medical education has grown over a period of time. We used to learn from seeing and being. But now there is a competency-based medical education coming up. I do not say that all institutions are doing it equally well, but there are institutions which are coming up, which are bringing the competencies. And if you be very clear, even today, I had been to US and UK also, and I've seen the medical teachers, not the practitioners, medical teachers in US who say that their examination pattern for post-graduation or undergraduation, it's much, much more. My own senior who was an postgraduate from India, he's a medical teacher in US and was telling, if the way the examination is conducted in India, all my residents would definitely fail for 1 or 2 times. So that is the education standard in India. Even in US, I'm not talking about Ukraine, I'm not talking about Russia. I had many students, 2 to 3 students in my earlier institution who were passed out and who cleared the Indian exam and come for the post-graduation. And I've seen the standard. I had the pre-med student of US who had come for a summer vacation as a process. And I've seen.
You have muted.
What I'm going to talk to you. Standard has, of course, in 1960 as compared, has become different. But does not mean that everywhere it is different. But still, like Dr. 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔 said, we are doing much better. There is a transformation which is happening, which is called as competency-based, and we are looking at the minimal competencies, what people have to take. I agree that the confidence in the students to practice after their medical has decreased a lot as compared to what was there in 1990s or 1960s. But I would also want to say that that is not just because of medical education, but because of the expectation of the society. The society, by and large, earlier also would want, they look at the doctors. I believe, Lalji, you or many of us would believe our family doctors, whatever said was right. And we go with that. And the specialization was a secondary part. If he sends it, then it is okay. But today, there are so many people, especially in Bangalore, and my own friends, I would want to say, who are softwares, who are managements, would earlier Google it and then come to a doctor for a second opinion. So now the expectation is, I know so many Googling things are not true. So the expectation is more and more perfection. And humans are to err. And when there is not there, and when it comes to the fee structure, what did they do for 5 minutes? They do not look into the education, what they have put in, their time and efforts, but what did they do in the 5 minutes? It's also there in the Google. So the expectation from the students have moved on from just being a family doctor or just treating doctor to become a specialist. I agree, the specialists are the people who know more and more about very less and less things. The smaller things, they know more. But that is expected today from the society. We look into the degrees as a label rather than a patient, a doctor as a person. Of course, that's also led into an aptitude or an attitude difference in the students and in the doctors. I remember how my teacher, Dr. 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔 was treating, and how the other ENT, my own colleagues or my juniors, ENT doctors, treat their students or teach their patients. But the paradigm shift is not just in education, but a whole change in the societal structure and societal movement. Of course, education has played. I agree that now many of them say that, why should I know I have to do a specialization. I know at one time I have to do a super specialization. This is what one of my students told me. Madam, I am not going to be a pediatrician in life. So a scenario to know that what a pediatrics patient should take, if that's enough for me, because I'm going to be an orthopedician. I'm going to specialize in knee surgeries. This is at his 3rd year MBBS, he says. So I'm sure this is in my private institution, and that I have my classmate who will be doing pediatrician, who will be treating. Then I asked him, how will your son born will be treated? Your son or daughter born will be treated. So he says, I'll have my classmate who will be doing, somebody who will be doing pediatrician. He'll treat my son or my daughter. And so the attitude and aptitude has changed, which has made the medical education being. So the wanting, or when I was finishing MBBS, I would want to put up my example. I was very scared. I didn't know that whether I will do a post-graduation or not. What was my entity is I have to know everything, so that if in the home somebody asks me, I should be able to tell them what the disease is and where they have to go and how I should be able to treat. Otherwise, my parents or my family will treat me that I'm not a doctor. And the honor was they treating me as a doctor is enough to me. But today, even in the house, that's what my third year students in All India Institute of Medical Science says, my home people, they are the cream of the people, and I know their knowledge level. They say, my home people ask, what specialty will you be doing? What specialist you are? How much you know? So my basic understanding does not make a difference, madam, for the society today. What specialist I am makes a difference. And now you're saying, after the countries, most of the countries give a high preferences to the family medicine, to the basic doctors. Whereas it's in India, I can directly go to a super specialist. Whereas including any other country, I can take a prescription from a pharmacist. I can take a medicine on counter. Recently, my brother called me from US saying the symptoms of gastritis to his classmate, to his friend, and he had taken him to a doctor and had to wait for 3 hours for a consultation for a prescription. And I said, it's mere gastritis. Just a Rantac is enough. He says, in US, you cannot take over-the-counter Rantac. I have to wait for 3 hours. I have to meet a family physician. I have to meet a basic doctor. And if he prescribes to gastroenterologist, I have to go there and then take a prescription. So you look at the system of the healthcare system. So medical education is not alone. It also depends upon the healthcare system. So our own healthcare system is a picture, and our own society is a picture of medical education. I'm not just talking about a medical education. I'm talking about our education system as in large. We are talking about, yes, we are talking about saying that 25 lakhs somebody pays per year to come for medicine, or 15 lakhs to pay to come for medicine. Can anybody say how much an LKG student pays in Delhi? Is it not 2 to 3 lakhs? My son got his scholarship. Otherwise, I had to pay for him for his 11th grade, 3.5 lakhs per year for his first year of PUC. So when I'm paying 7 lakhs for medical degree, I do not feel it's great, because I've paid 3.5 for 11th grade. So the money is not just in the medical profession. Money is from the LKG. Luckily, my godson got a scholarship 100%, so he doesn't have to pay. Luckily, my son is studying in a village school. He doesn't have to pay. He just have to pay 40,000 as a fees. But my colleagues, children are in 2nd or 3rd grade, are paying 2 to 2.5 lakhs per year as the fees. So now we are talking about only medical education being expensive is not worth. Our whole education system has become very expensive. The failure, the government is coming up with many medical colleges, and I would want to put across on board saying that we in All India Medical Institute of Medical Science, the fees is 3,800 for 5 years. It still continues to be that in the government, most of the government is pouring in a lot of money that's required for the Institute of Excellence. And I would want to clearly put across, I'm getting paid more than 2 times, nearly 3 times what I was getting paid in a private institution. So amount what the government is putting into is for this institution. You can look into the fees is so much and this is so much, looking into, and definitely the education will be better. But what is happening with the privatization is, of course, but I would again want to put up the pressure in making a class or curriculum in best of the best medical colleges, private medical colleges, very high. Most of the people were not able, because they would want it as a selling entity. Most of them would also now are coming as a selling entity. So definitely there is and there is a best teacher getting more incentives. All this is coming up. The scenarios are changing. There is a phase which went high and then it was slowly, but again, the scenarios are changing. Not all medical colleges, not all private medical colleges, but Indian scenarios are changing. But before that, I want to put up 3 very important things before I finish for everybody to understand that medical profession should not be taught as a comfortable and an easy profession by the parents or by the society for their children. When's that? And all the profession, including the school teachers, have to be given equal and more importance and given an credibility and proper income so that the passion can be driven. Now it's not passion driven, nor it is a noble profession driven. It's most of the time, like what sir said, I definitely agree. For the most of them, it's an income source. That is because it's much easier income source. So it's not passion driven. Once was a time when teaching was passion driven. Now it's an income source because there are so many medical colleges, easy to get a job, one income, and then you do whatever you want. Otherwise, you don't get so many patients in the private because there are so many, and I cannot earn so much what I've spent all through my life. It's not just in medical education, all through my life, what my parents have invested on. It's an investment. My student once has said that it's an investment. My father has money, it's an investment. So tomorrow, if the money is kept, it's only the interest I get. Now an investment, I can continue my life as. So it's become an investment. So this process has to be changed. The business, not just by private institution, but by the parents as a business in medical education has to change. You think the people sent to Ukraine or were just with passion? Again, most of them, it was an investment. If you see majority of the people say that it's an investment on the children's education, what we are going to do so that tomorrow their life becomes easier. This investment concept has to be changed. That's the second thing which I would want to say. Third thing is definitely our healthcare services. I'm again putting up the healthcare system in India has to definitely change. There should be a gradation, there should be a way out, which has to happen. We follow US style, which is not, and that the healthcare system is a failure in this, which has to be changed. Unless that is changed, our medical education will not change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rashmi Kundapur, for giving your very, very strong points, but very clear points. And she says that earlier it was a noble profession, but now it's not a noble profession. It's for the money whatsoever, a safe profession. She used the word. She says that people are joining the medical because they feel that they will have a comfortable life. But for that they are paying. And she's raised a very important point. She says in LKG, when the people are paying 2.5 lakhs rupees per year, why they are cribbling if they have to pay more money in the medical? And I agree with her. Even if we see a pilot of any airlines, how much they are paying because they are going to get that much return. But the difference is about the noble profession. And that question I would like to ask now to Dr. Shivkumar. See, earlier, I will tell you, as you all have good experience. My experience is that I belong to a medical family. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, my father, my brother, all are doctors. So my brother is still doctor and his daughter is also doctor. What I have seen, at 2 o'clock in the night, somebody will ring and my father has to attend. We are ready as a child to go to nearby Agra place. We are from Mathura. We are going in the car and we found that the railway crossing was closed and that somebody came to our car and Dr. Goel, you have to go back. The patient is serious in your clinic. Now, we as a child were feeling, what is this going on? After all, we have some enjoyment time. Family's life of that time of a doctor was very, very bad at that time. But my father used to say, this is the profession where I get the respect. Everybody, and even we as a child were getting respect, that even many of the very senior people used to call us Dr. Saab, Dr. Saab. When we were, say, 6 years or 8 years or 10 years or 12 years old, that type of respect. Today, people say, we have paid you the money, consultation fees, 250, 500, 1,000, 5,000, you are supposed to do. It is like that I am going to a barber shop or to going a beauty clinic. You are doing my work. If I am not happy, I will tell you on face. As Dr. Kundapur mentioned about the Google, this is fact. Everybody is doing Google first and they are ready to argue with you. You might be having an experience of 50 years or 30 years. They will not accept. This is why you are prescribing this? Don't you think it can be like this? And when you ask that, they different. So my question to you is, doctor, we stop calling medical profession as a noble profession. Let it be a profession like engineer, like an as a lawyer or any other profession, but not as a noble profession. Then whatsoever the fees anybody is charging, let them charge. Let them be a competition. If you are good, if you can, as a USP, she has mentioned the unique selling. If you have a USP, you can sell your product. Otherwise, the customer will go to somewhere else. Earlier, it was a patient. It was like a family treatment. What you are mentioning, and I'm sure the pain which you might be seeing in the present scenario, people are only worried. They are not bothered if they are prescribing one medicine, what effect it is going to be on the other organs of the thing. So my question to you is, shall we stop calling doctors as a profession, as a noble profession? Let it be a normal profession, and then government can do whatsoever the government can do, the private organizations can do what they can do. What is your opinion about this, Dr. Shivkumar?
This Rashmi Kundapur said, no more is called a noble profession by the public at least. As you said, they say we pay, you serve. But as you said, during your father time, even my time as a practitioner for the last 50 years, our way of practice was different. People were different. They used to respect us a lot. And as a doctor, as you said, it has become commercial. But not everyone, but most of them have become commercial. But even then, if there is anything humanitarian mind among the public, it's still with the doctors. That means even the one person charges very highly. If a poor patient comes, he's the one who will say, okay, go. At least few people will do that even today. But as you said, people come with a, what do you call, half knowledge after going through Google and start asking the questions. But if you have got the patience, because I do have many patients like that, if you explain thoroughly, I think they will accept. But the problem is, too many patients come like that in everyday practice. So it is very difficult to spend time for such things, to explain to the patients regarding the disease, everything about it. So what the public should understand is, doctor is the one who will treat you. He is not the cheater at least. He may charge you more, but he will put forth his efforts, honest efforts to treat you and see that you become well. If that comes to your the public mind, the relation of a doctor and patient might improve. The reason is again question of money. A poor patient cannot afford. They start blaming the doctor who charges. But at the same time, there are plenty of doctors who will charge minimally, because if you go through the history of our India, there are many doctors who treat patients with 1 rupee, 10 rupee. There are so many like that. That means those patients at least start looking for them. But ultimately, it is the people should understand that the doctors are the one who may be very greedy. That's something. But they try to treat you to see that you are not like honestly. There may be failures sometimes, or which nowadays, they go to the court of law.
Yeah.
If there is definitely what is called negligence,
Okay.
definitely they can go to the court of law. But most of the times, negligence do not happen. It's the question of decision making. Sometimes decision making may be wrong, and that is why they lose the patient. But decision making, sometimes in emergency cases, it will happen because all doctors are not God.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
So there is a question of, at least 1%.
Yeah.
So that people have to accept that. If they start accepting all these things, doctor and the patient's relation will be like before, like they used to, as you said, your father used to be called as Dr. Saab. Even for me, there are many individuals who actually respect us when we go on roads. That respect an engineer cannot provide. That is the difference between an engineer and other profession and a doctor. Even sometimes traffic police will stop the other vehicles and allow my vehicle pass. So those things are there, provided doctor is also very soft-hearted. In a sense, as you said, in the night also, because I used to do pediatric from I have done all the cases. Show me any position of the clock. I have done an emergency. That means if that mentality is there, whether you save the patient or not, if you attend the cases at the right time, that is enough. We should do respect. I think that should come to the public's mind that doctor is the one who is trying to help you, maybe with little money or more money.
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Things like take a lot of time to discuss about the investigations and all.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you very much, Dr. 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔, for giving your views. Now, I would like to ask the question to Dr. Dilip Singhvi. Dr. Dilip Singhvi, are you there? Yeah,
I'm there. I'm here.
Dr. Dilip Singhvi, one of the factors which people says is that it's a pharmaceutical companies which are the main reason of the deterioration of the medical education in India. I will give you an example. The doctors, you may correct it if I'm wrong. Here in India, we have seen the doctors, the medical representative who is coming to the doctor, to a general practitioner, and he says, this is the new medicine, which you have to give. This is the dose prescribed. This has been done. Please take it. And if you will take this much, whatsoever, that is a separate thing, which I would not like to discuss. And the doctor feels that this is a new thing which has come without taking the knowledge, either attending a conference. Where we are not talking about you, like Dr. Kundapur is in All India Institute, you are at Muscat, or Dr. 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔 had that experience. But I'm talking of those doctors who are practicing all over India in villages and 3 or 4 tier cities. They will feel they are not attending conferences, they are not updating their knowledge. So their updating knowledge is through the MRs, the medical representatives. Don't you think this is one of the factors that one like Dr. Kundapur said, the doctor says, the student says, I have to become this, so why should I study other things? But when they come out, and suppose they could not succeed, they are doing general practice also, but they don't have that knowledge because they have not learned at the time. And they are getting the knowledge from there. That is why the medical status in India is going down. And in COVID also we have seen, although our Honorable Prime Minister asked everybody to beat the clap and everything. But the way the doctors were treated in India, it is not seen anywhere in the world. Why? What is the reason that people have that resentment against the medical thing, which was not there earlier? And secondly, you can say the competence, apart from few, I'm not saying everyone, but the competence, general competence in Indian medical, although they are very intelligent, they have crossed NEET, they are cream of the cream. But if you see the general competence, because they are not updating their things through the proper channel. What do you say about this, Dr. Singh?
Yeah, Mr. Lal, I do agree. Definitely. See, what happens is after you come out, you finish your curriculum, you become whatever level, maybe it is an MBBS, GP, or a specialist. Eventually, what will happen is, our day-to-day life runs on money only. Whether we are doctors or we are in any profession, everybody needs money to run his daily life. No grocer is going to give us anything free. So you have to earn your bread, you have to earn your money. Now, it is a personal decision of a doctor which way he wants to work. He wants to work as an academician, he wants to do an ethical practice, or he wants to do an unethical practice. It is his personal choice. Now, we have doctors across the board. We have people who just go into research and academy, or they remain their whole life in institutes. There are people who do private practice, they earn money, they become commercial. And I do agree with our earlier, both the speakers, Dr. Rashmi and Dr. 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔, that there is a lot of commercialization in our branch. And I also told, because like I'm in a private hospital, it's a service industry. If you ask, it's a service industry like any other sector. But again, there is a clear-cut demarcation between an ethical practice and a non-ethical practice. Now, coming to your first point is that the doctors who are not upgrading themselves or not updating themselves, I'm using both the words, not upgrading themselves and not updating themselves. Upgrading means they're not looking or aspiring to take another degree or any specialized course, whether it is short-term, long-term, anything. And neither they are updating themselves with the available knowledge on the field by CMEs or conferences. And they just keep on practicing just on the base of hearsay knowledge, whether it is from the medical reps or from wherever. For that very reason, most of the countries outside others have put an system for updating the doctors. There is a point system. Even in Oman, we have a point system that a doctor has to attend CMEs of level 1 and level 2 and accumulate these many points per year. Otherwise, his registration will not be renewed. So if you put a system like that, then whether the doctor wants or he doesn't want, he has to attend to accumulate those points. The same appraisal system was put in 2015 in UK also. I was also one person. I mean, I have a GMC license. I can work in UK if I want. Every week I'm getting a call. In 2015, they put this upgrading of every doctor in UK. So I was also sent a mail from GMC. They kept on sending me mail, but I kept on writing to them that, see, I am not working in UK right now. So give me any agency who can upgrade me or who can evaluate me and give you the assessment. They said this is only for doctors who are practicing in UK, not outside them. So what they suggested is you suspend your GMC license. Whenever you come to UK and you want to practice, just revoke that and start practicing. And then we'll evaluate it. But what I mean to say is that there is a system in place to evaluate and upgrade and appraisal for every doctor. So this appraisal of every doctor should be through an assessment, whatever form you want to choose. That will enable us to maintain this level which you are talking, that we don't just work and practice on hearsay. We have some sound evidence and basis to work on. I do agree, this pharmaceutical also is a two-edged arm. On one side, like in India, there are how many 1,000 companies are making the same product. Not everybody is of the same standard. You have standards from level A to level Z. But it is on the doctor which one he wants to write. Whether he wants to earn just pure money and write a substandard stuff, or he wants to maintain some form of ethnicity. So it's up to him what he wants to write. Everything is available in India. But the question is, we doctors are not making the medicines at home. We are not the ones. They are the ones who are making it. They are the ones who are they are the ones who are researching it. Okay. So if you see the main, they research and bring the molecule to us. It is our people only, our fraternity who goes and does the research. But they have chosen that field. They don't want to do the general practice. They want to do a research. They produce. Yeah. See, you see the vaccine, the latest COVID vaccine. There was no vaccine before 2020, but the world was forced to get a vaccine. So the research was done and a vaccine came. Few companies came. We cannot argue. We have to prescribe them. But now if you take one molecule, so it's an individual practice.
Yes, Dr. Singhvi, you are right. Two things what you made is very correct. But like we have seen in police services, IPS or IS, they have a refresher's course. Whether you are a IG, DIG or DGP, you have to go to the academy. I think that is a very good idea, that at least we should, like all India institutes, they should start these types of things where the doctors should go and upgrade themselves and this thing. Secondly, as you mentioned about the research, what research in India is taking place, that I think everybody knows that is the problem, because that research which is taking place abroad and prescribing the medicines, whether it's any medicines, they are taking the components of that particular field of or the patients or the from suppose USA or other places. Their body component are different than the Indian component, and when they are being prescribing the same dose, here that same dose is not working. But anyway, you have made a very good point. Thank you very much. Now I will like to go to Dr. Rashmi Kundapur. Dr. Rashmi Kundapur, you mentioned about that USA system, medical system is not good, right? But what about UK system? UK system, if you see, I know because I had a heart attack, so I was treated there. I have seen that at the King's Hospital, how they are working, that they are providing free medical thing to everyone. NHS is doing. And the GP, the general practice, is the main crux there. Don't you think we have? And I asked them, why you are doing like this? They says, because until unless as you are rightly says, the doctor, whichever field he will go, first he has to work as a GP. He should know, or she should know, how to treat the patient, the pulse of the patient, and then that feeling of the things will come. Emotional feeling, you can say, that ethics will come. But the main thing is that in India, neither we are taking the free thing, or those thing like in district hospitals, or All India Institute, which is like a model of UK, or the USA model where we are charging much. Don't you think India require a overall change in the medical system, so that either you should take the stakeholders, take the best of UK, take the best of USA, take the best of India, come out, because our medical insurance is very weak, very, very weak. How many people are getting? And that is the reason the medical doctors are facing problem. It's not the problem with the doctors, but the medical system in India. What do you say about this, Dr. Kundapur?
I definitely agree. There is a flaw in the health system. The processes now, it's not just a government. Look at any country and look at India. We are 1.3 billion people. It's not a small amount. A doctor in my own classmate, who is a family medicine practitioner in Boston, sees around 8 to 10 patients a day. And he says that's a great amount, that's a large amount. Whereas in my clinic here in All India, which is a tertiary care, I see around 40 patients a day. It's a tertiary care. Primary care, in our own primary health center, we see 120 patients. Now we are talking about the quality to be given or explanation to be given. What a person can be doing at 8 patients and what a person can do at 120, there is a difference. So that is a problem of, I agree, there is a doctor-patient ratio, which has been a problem, which is happening as an issue. Also look into the system that it's a country with so much of population, where our GDP is very low. What is the GDP UK is investing on its people? It's 8.7% of the GDP, which has been 8.7% to 9.5% it's spent. And that's wholly spent. Nothing is out-of-pocket expenditure. Whereas US is spending 14% of the GDP, in which the people's money is half and government's is half. Whereas 8.575, which this is spending, is spent by the government alone. We are spending less than 1% of the GDP. Total expenditure on health is 2%, in which more than half is from out-of-pocket expenditure from the patients. Less than 1% the government is spending as a GDP into this. Why is that? The issue is health is not a priority for anybody in India. Now coming again, I'm saying, don't blame a government. Have us, any one of us, force the government to take as an health as a priority in the agenda? No. For us, it is something else which makes a difference. For us, it is religion. It is many other
Yes,
things.
yes.
Health is never a priority to anybody of us. Unless we think health is a priority, our people legislative will not think health is a priority. We think health is a right, I agree. But we do not think health is a priority. In most of the country, health is given as a priority. When the people think it is a priority, it becomes as an election priority, it becomes as a nation's priority, it becomes as a political priority, political agenda. Unless it becomes a priority, it becomes unbased. Okay. Now, who is that? We have education, but our health literacy is very low.
Yes.
Now,
okay.
Unless we look into that, our health system will not change, our GDP will not come into. So it's again lies on each one of us to bring into us, as each one of us think and health is our priority, and develop our own health literacy. It's not Googling about the disease, but knowing about the health. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Kundapur. So viewers, you have seen today experts' views about the medical education. Education, definitely it has gone down, but not that much. The doctors, those students have been selected, they are creams. After all, very tough in NEET examinations are there. They are working day and night. They are learning many things. But the problem is the society. We, the civil society, we are responsible to degrade, to see we are not giving that respect. We are not giving that amount which they deserve. And we always quibble to a doctor. Then the doctors definitely, after all, he is also a social animal. He is also staying in a society. If he or she is listening what the people are saying, they have to change. If they are doing free, people always quibble. Oh, it's a free thing. They have not seen us properly. It's we are responsible. And we are also responsible not to force our government to give, as Dr. Kundapur rightly says, priority to the medical thing. Yesterday I did for education, and I found medical and education are the least priority for any government. I'm not talking of any form of government, any political party in India. We are just having our election motto. We want to win the elections by hook and crook. We are not bothered whether that MLA or MP is educated or not. They are not bothered. Only botheration is how to capture that chair, and no respect. And we have seen COVID time, everybody was praising the doctors. COVID is over. Nobody is even thinking about the doctors. We have to change our mindset. If we will change our mindset, definitely more and more good quality doctors will be there. If who is going to be benefited? We all, our own children will be benefited. If tomorrow your child is going to show to a doctor, and if the doctor will also treat as we are treating them, then what will happen? So it is always the society's responsibility. If we will give the respect, we will get the respect. And if we will force the government to give more and more funds to the medical or education, then only we expect the medical education in India to go. Although I will say one thing else. When I was in London or in USA, I found the Indian doctors and the Indian nurses on top. All they were doing, and everybody was praising that they are the best doctors. But why we are criticizing them? Because we have forgotten our ancestors. We have forgotten how our fathers and grandfathers have given the respect to the doctors. Please change our attitude. And once we will change the attitude, the government will force to change their attitude. And then our medical education will be such that no student or no child of our country will even think to go abroad and face the situation which they are facing today. Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Caru News, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Gyan, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And in our endeavor to bring to you every day new topic in media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. And tomorrow is a very, very special day. And tomorrow is International Women's Day. And tomorrow our panelists are Ms. Urvashi Mittal, District Secretary, Inner Wheel, District 301, New Delhi, Dr. Daljit Kumar, Vice Chairman, National Human Rights Commission, India, Ms. Arjita Garg, Miss India Earth, New Delhi, Advocate Anita Mahapatra, Attorney, Alliance Law Firm, New Delhi, Dr. Priyadarshini, Mrs. World Supermodel 2019, Mangalore, Rotarian Ritika Gupta, CEO, Ma Saraswati Hospital, Mathura, Dr. Shruti Shanbag, Consultant Dentist, Toothworks, Mumbai, and Miss Khushbu Revatkar, actor, model, and social activist, Mumbai. So please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Dr. A.M. Shivkumar. Thank you very much, Dr. Dilip Singhvi, and thank you very much, Dr. Rashmi Kundapur, for giving your views, very, very enlightened views. I am sure your views, if it will reach to the government, definitely the government will do, and as well as the civil society